Hello and welcome back to the VolReport Show. I'm Ryan Sylvia with VolReport.com on the Rivals Network. And I'm joined by Anthony Dasher of UGA Sports, Georgia site on the Rivals Network. Anthony, how are you doing?
Hey, doing great.
Good. Thanks for hopping on. I
Sure, man.
appreciate your time. But first things first, let's talk about that last week for Georgia. Kind of a surprising result. I think that a lot of
Mhm.
people thought that maybe Ole Miss would catch them, but maybe not in the fashion that they did. So, what went wrong for Georgia last week?
Everything went wrong for Georgia last week. Yeah, make no pretenses about that one. Ole Miss dominated that game in every way, shape or form. Offensively, has been out of sync really for a while, to be quite honest. But offensive line, was controlled by Ole Miss. Running game, when you look at the SEC stats, I think Georgia's next last to conference right now in league rushing, and with the kind of offense Georgia runs with the play action passing, if you're not getting any kind of push or any kind of running ability going, that's going to make it awful hard for you to throw. And Georgia got behind, and Ole Miss was able to kind of pin its ears back and really created a lot of havoc with Carson Beck, who was been trying to. I think a lot of his interceptions have been talked about a lot over here, and but a lot of that's him trying to overcompensate for just other things that are going wrong. I mean, receivers are you know breaking off routes incorrectly, not getting to the right spot. Carson, he's been rushing for some throws as well. And just the offense just has not been a thing really all season long. And then defensively, they played well at times. And in the game of Texas, that was as good an effort defensively I've seen for Georgia in a long time. In that environment, it was crazy, and they went out and played some very very sound football. Even though again the offense again kind of struggled. Carson had 3 picks in that ball game, but just a thing where just Georgia hasn't really kind of been on playing to the standard that Kirby Smart talks about all the time. It's been definitely been a step below.
You mentioned Carson Beck a couple times. Where are you at with him? How much uh, is the struggles that Georgia's had on his shoulders compared to maybe the criticism he's received being a little unwarranted?
Well, I get the criticism. I mean, he's had what 12 interceptions now. When I think in 6 games, that's a lot.
Yeah.
No matter what kind of league you're talking about. But again, it hasn't all been his fault. I mean, offensive line again has not been that good. I mean, I'll be quite frank with you on that. And the receivers, they don't have really. They got some good players now. Don't get me wrong, but they don't have anybody who I think you would be considered a game breaker, somebody who another defensive coordinator is probably scared about. Hey, we've got to stop this guy. Maybe like Brock Bowers was the last 3 years for the team. There's really nobody like that right now. So they're having to be more efficient, execute better. But again, that's something they're really struggling to kind of do right now.
Has there been any sort of play? I know they've created some kind of explosive plays throwing to the running backs. Has that been the best offense right now? What's been the go-to? Like, all right, when they're doing this, at least they're moving the ball a little bit at least.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. Now, Trevor Etienne does catch the ball a lot out of the backfield. I mean, he did that at Florida, and he's done that with UGA as well. But no, they've got your basic play action passer. They've gone to Arian Smith, down the middle of the field. Dom Love's made some big plays, and Dylan Bell has had a history of being very good in one-on-one situations. Catching some deep balls, but again, they've had some injuries. They've had some suspensions. No Ra Thomas, no Kobe Young. I mean that's hurt the depth there, and they've had to rely on some guys who maybe not be aren't quite ready for prime time in some instances. But again, the depth has been a problem. But again, nobody feels sorry for you about that, man. I mean, you're supposed to be able to recruit and cover those bases if some things crop up.
On the defensive side of the ball, what's the strength and weakness been over there?
Well, I think the strength is still, front seven has not played that bad. I mean, Jalen Walker has been really really good. He can flip flop between inside and outside backer. In the Texas game, he had like 3 sacks in the first half. And broke up a pass. I mean, he's just I think he's a dynamic player. Somebody I'm sure that Tennessee's offensive coaches are really going to have to account for in this ball game. Michael Williams has been bothered by an ankle injury, suffered in the first game, against Clemson over at the Benz, and hasn't really been his old self. But he's getting healthier, and if he's healthy, now he's got the capability to get back to that level. I think he's still projected to be a first round pick and the draft, coming up. You know, the secondary has been kind of up and down. Malachi Starks is another guy who they think is going to be a first round pick next year. It's kind of has had quite the season maybe that people expected, but he's still again a player with a lot of experience in SEC play in the secondary. This and then at cornerback, Dalen Everett and Julian Humphrey have been okay, but again, it's just something this whole team has been missing on both sides of the defense. Same way, I mean. They've looked great at times, other times like they did, last week against Ole Miss, and that first half against Alabama just haven't been playing very well.
I guess, how do you think this battle in the trenches is going to go? Tennessee's defensive line has been phenomenal, but on the offensive line, it's been improved, but the offensive line, there's still a lot of question marks. How do you see that playing out on both sides?
Well, I think you'll see, I would think, again, I'm just guessing here, but I would think you probably on the defensive side for Georgia, I think you'll see them try to put a lot of pressure, on Eon. I'm not going to try to pronounce your quarterback's last name. I don't want to butcher it. Sound like a fool on your radio show on your show here. But I think Georgia, get a lot of pressure, or try to anyway. On the other side, if you're Tennessee's defensive front, you're looking at what Ole Miss did last week. You're probably feeling pretty good about your situation, right now. And I just think that's something that Georgia's going to have to play a lot better, a whole lot better than what they did last week. Tennessee is going to provide some of the same issues, I think, from that standpoint that Ole Miss did. If Georgia doesn't figure it out with the offensive line, and that's going to trickle on down to Carson Beck, it's going to trickle down to the wide receivers. So it's all going to be, I think, on the shoulders of the offensive line to figure out what they were doing wrong.
Iamaleava. It's one of the names.
Yeah, I know. I'm not as dumb as I sound, so please don't let your subscribers think I'm some kind of moron over here. I'm terrible with names and pronouncing names, so I don't want to insult the young man.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It was one that he committed, and it was like, all right, I'm gonna go and say it in the mirror 50 times until I get it down, so I can.
I'm obviously spelled it in several stories already, that I've written so far. I'm always like double checking until all right, I got that. Okay, we're good to go. So, but seriously though, I think he's had a great year. He's lived up to what I've seen anyway. He's lived up to every expectation I think the Tennessee fans have for him. He's going to be a challenge for Georgia this weekend.
Yeah, and I think I guess we'll have to see what that injury report looks like on Wednesday. But from everything Michael said, it seems like they anticipate him to play. You can read into that as much as you want to from a coach talk perspective, but I guess we'll have to wait till Wednesday.
Well, Ole Miss brought after Dart got hurt. I think the first series against Georgia last week, they brought in their second team quarterback. He drove them right down the field, and they wound up scoring. So you never know. We saw what happened when LSU and Texas A&M played. LSU didn't have an answer for that quarterback that came in. So anytime a second team quarterback comes in anymore, I'm okay. Here we go. So,
so games in Athens though. I mean, are you someone that reads into that like that really does give Georgia a significant advantage, or are you not someone that buys too much into that home field advantage?
Well, you look at the record. I mean, they've done very well at home. I mean, the last time Tennessee was here, man, that was one of the wildest atmospheres I've seen in Athens, probably going back, to the Notre Dame game, a few years before that. I mean, the crowd can get really, really loud and crazy. I don't anticipate being quite that bad. Georgia's coming off a loss. There's a lot of, discontent, if you want to call it that, over Georgia's, season, so far. But yeah, it's the first home game Georgia will have had in 35 days. Seems like forever. I may not even remember how to get to the press box. It's been so long since I've been to a home game, at Sanford Stadium. But I think it's a big deal, and I think I think just from that standpoint, I think you'll see Georgia come out with maybe some more juice in this one. I mean, if they want to harbor any kind of playoff hopes, obviously they've got to win out and hope for the best with that. Tennessee's in a little better position, right now. So, but still, it's a game that just critical. It's basically a playoff game. I mean, whoever wins, I think can still probably feel pretty good about their chance. And even Tennessee, even with Tennessee loss, that's still going to be 2 losses for the Vols if that were to happen. So they'd still be in the conversation as well.
It's funny you mentioned how long it's been since Georgia's played a home game, because it's the same thing for Tennessee playing a away game. They've 4 straight home games with the bye week smacked in the middle. So it's been
schedule setup's been crazy this year. I mean, it's just, you don't, I know they had to do the new deal with the 2 new teams coming in, but there's been some really big discrepancies like that, and I hope that's something they can kind of figure out, because it's nuts to have any team, have that many road games or that many home games. It needs to be broken up somehow.
Especially on the road, that's tough to play. I mean, it's one thing to play 2 on the road and then 4 at home and then 2 on the road. I think that's a lot more palatable than spending a month away from home like
Yeah.
Georgia has. That's
No doubt about it. I mean, I know the schedule will be flipped next year, but still, again, no excuses all for Georgia. I'm not making any whatsoever, for them. But they go on the road at Alabama, on the road at Ole Miss, and then on the road to Kentucky before Kentucky kind of folded their tents a little bit. And then at Ole Miss, that was a tough road to hold for them, this year. But is what it is. You've got to play with the cards you dealt.
yeah. So what do you think Georgia needs to do on Saturday to come out with the win?
Just be efficient. I mean, they can't turn the ball over. That's something they've done every game. It seems like they played this year. I mean, they showed last week. They've got if you're not efficient, you turn the ball. You're not going to beat teams like Ole Miss. And same thing this weekend. You do it against Tennessee, you'll get beat as well. So I think it starts there. Get Carson Beck in position to make the play, and that's up to the coaches. I mean, the coaches have to do what they can to make it easier, for him. They've got to establish a running game. No running game, again, if Tennessee's able to pin it series back, come after Carson Beck, some good things are going to happen for the Vols, in my opinion, because I'm not sure Georgia has the overall, talent on the outside to maybe, overcome that. So I just, a lot has to go well for Georgia. I think they just got to play better football, not make mistakes, be efficient, and just, no pun here, but just play smart football.
So that's what needs to happen. Do you think that will happen? Do you think Georgia wins, or is Tennessee?
Man, I don't know. I mean, when I saw that line come out 10 points for Georgia, I'm like, man, let me call my bookie. I mean, I'm take them 10 points in a heartbeat, man. Just the way Georgia's playing, I don't see how in the world Vegas sees that, but maybe those guys are smarter, than I am. But like I said, I think Georgia will play better in this one. But man, they've got to execute a whole lot better. I mean, the way Tennessee is playing right now on both sides of the ball, Ball's going to have a good chance. If that happens, they play later, they're capable of, and Georgia goes screwing around a little bit, then Tennessee's definitely going to be this ball game, maybe even win it.
Yeah, that line took me by surprise too. I thought Georgia would be the favorite. I thought that you still have to respect what Kirby Smart's built over there, and it's on the road. So I was like, okay, probably looking at like a 4 or 5 point line, something around, and then all of a sudden it comes out to over 10. And yeah, that took me by surprise. But
yeah, I thought it'd be like 4 points as well, something like that. But man, that was crazy.
They seem to always know though, so we'll have
do. They have moles somewhere to figure things out. But man, that's why I don't bet though.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Anthony, I appreciate you hopping on the show. Let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, well, first of all, find us on our website, ujsports.com, and I'm on Twitter at Anthony Dasher 1. See what kind of trolls I can beat up. That's my thing. Pounding off trolls who like to attack me from time to time. So I try to make it interesting anyway.
We'll go check Anthony out over on Twitter, and then also, of course, check out UGAsports.com. You guys do a great job over there covering everything Georgia Bulldogs. Before you go, real quick question. How's the basketball team doing, men's basketball?
Basketball team is not bad. I mean, you're going to think I'm probably crazy, and Tennessee fans will probably think I'm crazy, but with the talent that Coach White has accrued, Asa Newell, man, I'm telling you, this kid's he's a real deal. They've done a great job through the portal. They probably got, as far as athleticism and depth goes, this is probably, from that standpoint, again, I don't know how that's going to play out, but from an athleticism standpoint, this is probably the best team they've had athletically since Jim Harrick's last year. This is a really, really, really good team. Asa Newell, like I said, has been just a tremendous 6'11", can shoot, can rebound, can run the court, can really do it all. I know as we're taping this right now, they've got North Florida tonight, which beat South Carolina and beat Georgia Tech on Sunday. So it's going to be a good challenge. Georgia has Georgia Tech, Friday in Atlanta. But this is a very good team. It's a team I think that could be on that bubble once the NCAA tournament rolls around. So we'll see. It's definitely been a more exciting team to watch this year. I will say that.
Yeah, Georgia. I mean, they played Tennessee pretty tight in Athens last year, and until the Dawn Connect show kind of took over.
That was incredible. By the way, that was one of the most amazing, one-man performances with the way he was shooting that ball that night. That was really kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, it was a really fun player to follow, and I think Tennessee fans are definitely gonna already do miss him, even though we're
But
what,
they've
2
got another great team, though. I've seen what they've got,
Yeah.
this year, so it's going to be another good year of basketball for the Vols.
Yeah, absolutely, and then the women's team got things
Yep.
off to a good start as well with the new coach, so things going well in Knoxville, but if you guys are Tennessee fans and you wanna be up to date and informed, the smartest guy at the watch party or the tailgate on Saturday for Tennessee, Georgia, make sure you guys do go check out ujsports.com. They do a terrific job. Anthony, thank you again for hopping on. Links to everything you guys need is in the description. Thank you for watching.
Sure. Right. Thanks, man.